I was going through the schools. So we have Wharton. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. So there was Wharton. Which was where did you get your undergrad?
Columbia.
Columbia, Wharton, and then Johns Hopkins.
Yes.
Extremely phenomenal schools, extremely phenomenal woman. Her name is M.A. Essein Lore. I want to understand now, you're great with the numbers. You're a finance expert. But now getting into you being an organizational health expert, just how did that transformation happen?
So, I've always been fascinated by people and what motivates people. Yeah. So when I started my career, I think like every good, child of African immigrants, you don't have many choices of what to do. So I didn't want to do engineering. Medicine wasn't for me. So finance, that seemed hardcore enough. So I did that. And I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it tremendously. I spent the first part of my career in New York working on Wall Street. I did that. And coming to IFC after that, focused very much on private equity, financing, et cetera.
Yes.
Now, and that's been an incredible journey for me. But what happened for me, and particularly it started when I moved to Nigeria, and I came in contact with so many amazing entrepreneurs and incredible businesses. And what's really special about, I think, working in that context is that every single entrepreneur I met created this company because they wanted to solve a problem.
Okay.
They experienced something in their community, in their life, and they felt that they had a solution for it. And that's just really motivating, right? So you work with these people, you try and help them with their, they want to expand, they need to grow. So as a financier, you come in and you help them with that, right? You help them think about what they need to do, and then you provide the financing, whether it's debt or equity. Financing goes in, company, moves ahead. But life happens, right? And so I always say this is Africa, something is going to happen. Either the currency is going to depreciate, or in the case of Nigeria, plummet, right?
Yeah.
Or there's going to be some other shock to the system. You're going to have a big competitor come in and steal all of your clients. The road that was taking your suppliers to you is gone now. Something is going to happen that's going to completely take your business plan and it's going to just scatter everything. And so that's where the rubber hits the road. And that's where I saw some of these great entrepreneurs and founders have a lot of resilience and kind of get through it by leading their teams really well. And then there was another group who just fell apart. Oh. They became kind of dictatorial. They thought they knew everything. They kind of imploded a bit. And those companies just
withered,
right?
Yeah.
And so in the context of Africa, we can't afford to have our companies wither, right?
No.
We need economic activity. And so it broke my heart often. But because you would often see that if you could just do it this way, if you could just engage your team in this way, then you could actually get through this very difficult storm. But then that didn't happen often. And so for me, it became about leadership. Mm-hmm. Not just about, do you have the right operations? Do you have the right team? Leadership matters. And leadership starts from the top. Can't make this up. It has to be from the top. And so I started really paying much more attention to that and realizing that as somebody who was on the side of providing capital,
yes,
I have a role in helping to influence entrepreneurs, leadership teams, boards, to start thinking about how they're going to be leading their teams in such a way that we can navigate difficult periods, because difficult periods will come.
Yes.
For sure. It's inevitable. Okay. And so that's what got me passionate. And since I'm really interested and motivated about people and people's motivations, it just connected for me. And organizational health is about how you support companies to be resilient in difficult times. And it really ultimately is about leadership.
Yes.
Right? It's ultimately, at its core, it's about leadership. People talk about processes. They talk about governance. Governance is critically important as well. I spend a lot of time focusing on governance because it's the codification of how you do things, how you make decisions.
Yes.
But leadership is at the core.
I heard a quote recently that we get it twisted with regards to board members, especially here in Africa and in Kenya with regards to their role. And this is actually from Michael Joseph. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
just checking.
Yes.
And he actually said in a recent interview that most board members are confused. They think that their role is operational, but actually their primary role is governance, ensuring good organizational governance. Is that something you'd agree with?
Absolutely. He's absolutely right. It also, for really functional, I sit on a number of boards
Yes.
across Africa.
Yes.
And I think and every board is different, right? Every board is different. Some boards have been around for a while. The company's been around for a while. And so the boards kind of operate in almost a very perfunctory way. They just kind of do the same thing.
Yes.
And then others will maybe startup companies. It's much more dynamic. There's always a fire drill or some drama.
Yes.
So it really runs the gamut. And so in the African context, it's great because again, these are all companies. Those people who sit on boards know these are companies that are really trying to make a difference. They're really trying to do something relevant for their demographic, for their community. So it's exciting to play that role. As a board member, it is critical to stay in the seat of governance and oversight and not to meddle on the operational side. But at the same time, board members have to pay attention. And so it's a really difficult balance to strike because you're supposed to have an oversight role, but you're not supposed to get into the weeds. So you have to be really skilled at asking the right questions, right? You have to be very skilled at leadership and asking the right questions and focusing on the right things. So yeah, I've seen board members, not on my boards that I sit on, but on boards I've sat in the past.
Other people's boards.
Where board members have, gotten too involved and on certain issues, and that has led to an outcome that for the company it was difficult to navigate around. So you definitely see that. That's the role of a board member. But there are also board members who think their role is just to come to the board meeting every quarter, right?
Know nothing about the
Yes,
company.
they just come and they chat and they do.
I was there, wasn't I?
Yeah, I was there, and they move on, and that's certainly not enough, right? Because the board members do have a responsibility for oversight, and it does require, not getting in the weeds, but really providing a sounding board for management, a way for management to also because the management's reporting to the board, so that they understand. They have to understand the business as well. The board really needs to understand the business. So it takes more than just coming to the board meeting every quarter.
When you say understand the business, do you mean understand business operations or P&L?
By understanding the business, I mean, what drives the business, right? So, and on every board, you're going to have people who have strong financial skills. You should have people with strong financial skills.
You should at least have.
Yeah, you should. And then everything else, you kind of have a mix. And that's, again, where diversity comes in. You want to have a diverse board, people with different skills. But you definitely need to have a couple people with some financial skills. So you don't need to understand exactly how the P&L works, profit and loss statement works. But you need to have a general sense of where you're going, right? And what the signaling is, right? So a good board member is going to be able to pay attention to what the management is telling them, again, and ask good questions and keep asking questions until you peel the onion back and figure out what's really happening here, right? If you ask enough questions, they will tell you, right? But if you ask superficial questions, you won't get there.
Essein, Lori, we are getting into the crux of it. We're going to be understanding what makes a good leader, what is good leadership all about, and then, of course, we'll be breaking apart and defining what unconscious bias is and how it can help you succeed at the workplace and in business in general, right?
Yes.
SpiceFM.